Once upon a time in a quiet town, there lived a young man named Jake. He had deep, thoughtful eyes and a heart that longed for the past. His days were filled with memories of a love that had slipped through his fingers. Her name was Emily, and she had been the love of his life. Jake had made a mistake that many young hearts do. He had taken Emily for granted, assuming that she would always be by his side. But as time passed, he realized how wrong he had been. It wasn't until she had moved on that he truly understood her worth. Late one evening, as Jake sat in his room, he decided it was time to make things right. He picked up his phone, his fingers trembling with nervousness, and dialed Emily's number. It had been a long time since they had spoken, and he was unsure if she would even pick up. After what felt like an eternity, Emily's soft voice came through the phone. "Hello?" Jake cleared his throat and stammered, "Hey, Emily. It's me, Jake." There was a moment of silence on the other end. Jake could almost hear the wheels turning in Emily's mind. Finally, she replied, "Oh, Jake. It's been a while." Jake's heart raced. He took a deep breath and said, "Yeah, it has. Emily, I've been doing some thinking, and I realized that I made a big mistake. I took you for granted, and I'm so sorry for the way I treated you." Emily remained quiet, and Jake could almost sense the walls she had built around her heart. Jake continued, "I miss you, Emily. I miss your smile, your laughter, and the way you made every day feel brighter. I want a chance to make things right, to show you how much you mean to me." After a long pause, Emily finally spoke, her voice tinged with sadness. "Jake, I appreciate your apology, but it's not that simple. I've moved on, and I've built a new life for myself. I can't just go back to the way things were." Jake's heart sank, but he understood her hesitance. He had expected this response but couldn't help hoping for a different outcome. "I understand," Jake said softly. "I just wanted to let you know how I feel. I hope you're happy, Emily, and I wish you all the best in life." Emily replied, "Thank you, Jake. I appreciate your honesty. I wish you happiness too." With that, they said their goodbyes, and Jake hung up the phone, a heavy feeling in his chest. He knew that mending a broken heart and regaining trust would take time, and he was willing to be patient. Little did he know that this was just the beginning of his journey to win back the love he had foolishly let slip away. In the days that followed, Jake couldn't stop thinking about Emily. He knew that getting her back was not going to be easy, but he was determined to try. He decided to make some changes in his life, to prove to her that he had truly changed. First, he focused on self-improvement. He began to work on his temper, which had often caused problems in their relationship. He started going to anger management classes and practiced patience and understanding. Jake also began to write heartfelt letters to Emily. He poured his feelings onto the pages, expressing his regret and love. Even though he wasn't sure if she would read them, it felt good to put his emotions into words. He reached out to common friends and asked them to put in a good word for him with Emily. They told her about the changes he was making in his life and how genuinely sorry he was for his past behavior. One sunny afternoon, as Jake was working in his garden, his phone rang. It was Emily. His heart skipped a beat as he answered, "Hello?" Emily's voice sounded friendlier this time. "Hey, Jake. I've been hearing from some friends about the changes you're making. I appreciate the effort." Jake's excitement was hard to contain. "Thank you, Emily. I really mean it. I've learned a lot, and I want a chance to show you." She paused and then said, "I'm willing to meet for a coffee, Jake, as friends. Let's see how it goes from there." Jake's heart soared. It was a small step, but it felt like a giant leap. "I'd love that, Emily. When and where?" They set a date to meet at a cozy coffee shop in their old neighborhood. Jake couldn't wait to see her, even if it was just as friends. He knew he had a long way to go, but this was the beginning of a new chapter in their story. As he hung up the phone, he couldn't help but smile. The journey to win back Emily's heart was underway, and he was ready to put in the effort. one step at a time. The day of the coffee meeting finally arrived, and Jake's heart was aflutter. He arrived at the coffee shop early, nervously fidgeting with his phone. He ordered a cup of coffee and waited for Emily to arrive. A little while later, he saw her walk through the door. She looked as beautiful as he remembered, and her smile sent a warmth through his heart. She approached his table, and they exchanged polite hellos. As they sipped their coffee, the conversation began slowly. They talked about the weather, their jobs, and the town they both still loved. It felt like they were two old friends catching up, and for a while, Jake was content with that. Then, Emily said, "You know, Jake, I appreciate your efforts to change and make things right. But it's going to take time for me to fully trust you again." Jake nodded, his heart heavy but understanding. "I know, Emily. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes. I just want you to be happy, even if it's not with me." They continued talking, and with each passing moment, their conversation flowed more naturally. They laughed about the old times, and Emily shared some of her new adventures. Jake felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what they had once shared. After a while, Emily said, "Let's take this one step at a time, Jake. I need to see consistent change and feel that I can trust you again. But I'm willing to give it a chance." Jake's heart leapt with joy. It was a small step, but it was a step towards reconciliation. He knew that he had a lot of work ahead of him, but he was ready to put in the effort. As they finished their coffee, Jake said, "Thank you, Emily, for giving me this chance. I promise I'll show you that I've truly changed." She smiled, a little more sincerely this time, and replied, "We'll see, Jake. I hope you mean it, and I hope we can find our way back to each other." With that, they said their goodbyes, each of them feeling a glimmer of hope and a willingness to give their love another chance. Jake knew that this was just the beginning, and the path to redemption would be long, but he was ready to walk it, hand in hand with Emily, one step at a time. Jake was determined to make things right with Emily. The coffee meeting had been a good start, but he knew he had a long road ahead to rebuild her trust and rekindle their love. He started by being consistent in his efforts to change. He attended therapy to work on his issues and anger management. He practiced patience and understanding not just with Emily but with everyone in his life. Emily noticed the changes in Jake's behavior, and it slowly started to warm her heart. She saw that he was making a genuine effort, and it made her consider giving their relationship another chance. One day, Jake surprised her with a handwritten letter. In it, he expressed his love and gratitude for her patience. He wrote about the moments they had shared and the dreams they had once talked about. Emily read the letter with a mix of emotions, and it touched her heart. She called Jake and said, "Your letter meant a lot to me, Jake. I see you're really trying, and I appreciate it." Jake replied, "Thank you, Emily. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right between us." They continued to spend time together, as friends, but with each interaction, they could feel the connection growing stronger. Jake was patient and didn't push Emily into anything she wasn't ready for. He respected her space and her need to take things slow. As months passed, their friendship deepened, and the trust between them began to mend. Jake knew that rebuilding their relationship would take time, but he was committed to the journey. One evening, while they were out for a walk, Emily said, "You know, Jake, I've been thinking. I believe in second chances, and I see that you're changing. Maybe we can give our love another try." Jake's heart soared with joy. He couldn't believe that he was getting a second chance with the love of his life. He said, "I would be honored, Emily. I promise to cherish this opportunity and never take you for granted again." Emily smiled, a warm and hopeful smile, and said, "Let's take it slow and build our love, step by step. I'm willing to try, Jake." With that, they sealed their commitment with a gentle kiss, and it felt like a new beginning. Their love story was getting a fresh start, and both of them were ready to make the most of this second chance. As they walked hand in hand, under the starry night sky, They knew that their journey was just beginning, and they were determined to create a love that was even stronger and more beautiful than before. Jake and Emily's love story had taken a turn for the better. They were committed to rebuilding what they once had and creating a love that was even stronger and more beautiful than before. As they spent more time together, they rediscovered the things that had drawn them to each other in the first place. They laughed together, shared their dreams, and found joy in the simple moments they spent in each other's company. They also learned from their past mistakes. Jake made sure to communicate his feelings openly and honestly, and he worked on controlling his temper. Emily, in turn, made an effort to express her needs and concerns, ensuring that they both understood each other better. Their journey to rebuilding trust had its ups and downs, but they faced each challenge as a team. They were patient with one another and resolved their issues through love and understanding, rather than arguments. One day, as they were sitting on a park bench, Jake looked into Emily's eyes and said, "You know, Emily, I'm so grateful to have you back in my life. I never want to let you go again." She smiled and replied, "I'm grateful too, Jake. I see the changes you've made, and I believe in the love we share." Jake took out a small box from his pocket and opened it to reveal a beautiful ring. With trembling hands, he asked, "Emily, will you marry me? I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she gazed at the ring. She nodded and said, "Yes, Jake, I'll marry you. I want to build a beautiful future with you." Their love story had come full circle, from heartache and regret to forgiveness and a new beginning. Jake and Emily's love was rekindled, and they embarked on a journey together, ready to create a future filled with happiness and everlasting love. The day Jake and Emily got married was a day filled with joy and love. They exchanged vows in front of their closest friends and family, promising to support and cherish each other, for better or for worse. As they stood at the altar, their eyes met, and they both knew that their love had come full circle. It had been a long and winding journey, but they had finally found their way back to each other. Their life together was filled with happiness, and they never took their love for granted. They continued to communicate openly, always making an effort to understand each other's feelings and needs. They built a beautiful home, filled with laughter and shared dreams. They faced life's challenges together, knowing that their love could conquer anything. They celebrated their anniversaries with renewed vows and promises of everlasting love. Their love story, once marked by regrets and mistakes, had transformed into a tale of redemption and enduring love. They cherished the second chance they had been given and made the most of it, creating a lifetime of happiness together.